It's that time of year where we get several game shows that announce new games and give more updates and even release dates on some highly anticipated games. Summer Game Fest just happened, and instead of having to sift through hours of the show to get caught up on everything, I'm gonna summarize and go over everything from the show, leaving out all the advertisements and random conversations that happened during the show. Kicking things off, we got the reveal of LEGO Horizon Adventures. It's what you'd expect from a LEGO game, but this time in the world of the Horizon series. It's scheduled to release in holiday of 2024 on PS5, PC, and Switch. Next up, we got the announcement for No More Room in Hell 2, made by the same people who made Chivalry 2. Up to 8 players must try to find each other and survive the horrors of the dark with the threat of permadeath looming over you at all times. Honestly, this game looks pretty interesting and might be a ton of fun with friends. It's currently scheduled to release in early access on Halloween of 2024. Moving along, we got the reveal of Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. I know Quidditch is something a lot of people were really hoping was going to be in Hogwarts Legacy, however, unfortunately, it just never happened. However, for those who have been desperately craving a game where you can actually play games of Quidditch, you won't have to wait much longer since it's scheduled to release on September 3rd on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Next up, we got Cuff Bust, a prison escape game made by a single developer. This developer is the same person who made Choo Choo Charles, and Cuff Bust is their newest project. Cuff Bust supports up to 20 players where they have to try to escape prison across a number of different ways, similar to games like The Escapists. Cuff Bust is set to release on PC in 2025, but they also said maybe. I don't know, to be honest. Moving past Cuff Bust, we got some more footage from Star Wars Outlaws, Ubisoft's upcoming $130 Star Wars game scheduled to release on August 30th. Honestly, we didn't see a ton of stuff on Star Wars Outlaws, however, they did say they're going to be showing more gameplay on Monday during Ubisoft's show, so we'll hopefully get some more info on what we can actually expect with Star Wars Outlaws. Stepping down a notch from Quadruple A Games, we got Neva. I believe this is a 2D platformer type of game that honestly, from the trailer alone, looks like it's going to be one of those games that has a severely underrated story attached to it. Visually, Neva looks absolutely beautiful, and I personally am pretty interested in it. Neva is scheduled to release in 2024 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Next up, we got the reveal of Civilization 7. If you aren't familiar with the Civilization series, it's a real-time strategy game where you take the role of various countries and try to beat everyone in various ways. Whether it be through technological advancements or total domination, Civilization always gives you a ton of ways to win or lose. We unfortunately didn't get any gameplay from Summer Game Fest, however, there is going to be a gameplay showcase coming in August. It is currently scheduled to release in 2025 on PS4 and 5, Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, and PC. Moving past Civ 7, we got another trailer for Black Myth Wukong, an action RPG set within Chinese mythology. Honestly, I've had my eye on this game since it was first announced all the way back in 2020. Finally, the wait is almost over because it's scheduled to release on August 20th on PS5 and PC. Next up, we have Once Human, an action-adventure survival shooter where you fight some of the most creative-looking creatures I've probably ever seen in a game that isn't coming from a FromSoft game. In Once Human, you can team up with your friends to hunt down these monsters, gather resources, and build your own territory. Once Human is a game I've had my eye on for quite a while and have unfortunately missed the chances to try it out during some of their open betas. Luckily though, the wait is almost over because Once Human is scheduled to release on July 9th on PC. Moving along, next up we have Warhammer 40k's Space Marine 2. I personally have never played any of the Warhammer 40k games, and when I first saw some gameplay of Space Marine 2, I kind of just thought it looked like any other third-person shooter where you shoot a bunch of waves of monsters with some of your friends, but as I see more and more gameplay of it, I'm finding myself getting more and more excited for it. Space Marine 2 is scheduled to release on September 9th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, with a gameplay overview trailer scheduled for June 20th. Next up we have Metaphor, an action RPG from the maker of the Persona games. I personally have never played any of the Persona games and don't know very much about them, however Metaphor definitely looks like a Persona style game. I'm sure if you're a fan of the Persona games, you're excited for Metaphor, which is scheduled to release on October 11th on Xbox Series X and S and PC. Moving past Metaphor, we got Batman Arkham Shadow. I've never played any of the Batman Arkham games and I'm honestly not entirely sure if this game is related to those or not. I know I'm missing out on the Batman Arkham series. I promise it's on my to-play list that is only a couple hundred games long. From what we did see, it honestly looks pretty good. However, unlike the other Batman Arkham games, this one is exclusive to the MetaQuest 3. It is currently scheduled to release in the fall of 2024. Next up, we have Street Fighter 6 adding in 4 new characters. Unfortunately, we didn't get any gameplay and it was all just a cinematic trailer. I'm also not the biggest fan of fighting games, so if there are any sorts of references from this trailer, I easily miss them because I'm just not familiar with the game. We didn't get a specific date for the characters either. All it said was that they were joining the fight in year 2. For fans of Street Fighter 6, that may give you an idea as to when to expect them. Next up, we have Tears of Metal, which is a co-op roguelike hack and slash game that honestly kind of looks like a medieval fantasy war simulator. simulator. Overall, it looks like a pretty promising game, and I personally really enjoyed the art style they used. There was no announced release date, but it will be coming to PC. Moving back to the fighting genre, we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Honestly, I thought this was some sort of DLC or addition to the most recent Dragon Ball fighting game, but it's actually the newest game in the Dragon Ball series. Again, I'm not a huge fan of these types of fighting games, so this isn't something I'm personally interested in, but I'm curious to know what fans of these types of games think. Are you excited for it, or is it not what you were hoping for? Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is scheduled to release on October 11th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Moving away from fighting games, we have Delta Force Hawk Ops, a tactical first-person shooter. Overall, it looks pretty intense and very action-packed. I don't play a ton of tactical shooters, however, this one definitely looks promising. Delta Force Hawk Ops doesn't have a release date currently, however, there will be a PC alpha test in July. The game is set to release on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. However, we also got some gameplay of their campaign mode, which from my understanding is called Delta Force Black Hawk Down and is also a recreation from the movie as well. I'm not too familiar with the Delta Force games, so if I got that wrong, please correct me in the comments. From what I saw of the campaign mode, it looks pretty good. It looks like what you'd expect from a military shooter campaign, however, in the trailer, I noticed a lot of stuttering, so I just keep that in mind if you're planning on checking it out. From what we've seen, it looks like this game may have some issues with performance. Moving past Delta Force and back into the fighting genre, we have Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, an arcade-style fighting game similar to the early Street Fighter games scheduled to release in early 2025 on PS4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. We didn't see a ton on this game, and I honestly don't know what much else I can say about it other than it reminds me of the old fighting games that were on the old arcade machines back in like the 90s. Next up we have Battle Crush, a top-down what looks to be like a party fighting game where each character has their own powers and abilities that compare or contrast with other characters. We didn't get a ton of gameplay for this one, honestly. It was mostly just an animation for most of the trailer. Battle Crush is scheduled to release in early access on June 27th on Switch, PC, and mobile. Completely changing tones, we got Mecha Break, a game that looks a lot like From Software's Armored Core 6. Not gonna lie, when I first saw this, I seriously thought it was some kind of DLC or update for Armored Core 6. If you're a fan of mechs or Armored Core, I definitely recommend checking this one out more. Mecha Break is scheduled to release in August, and the trailer didn't say what it'll be releasing on. Next up, from the studio known for making horror movies, Blumhouse has decided to take a stab at making games, showing off snippets of Crystal Theater of Idols, Grave Seasons, Sleep Awake, Fear the Spotlight, and The Simulation. All of them appear to be horror games, and as someone who really enjoys horror games, they all look pretty promising. When I first heard that Blumhouse was taking a shot at making games, I was a little excited but also pretty skeptical, seeing as to how they're known for movies, not games. I'm happy to see they're actually sticking with horror, a genre they mainly focus on in their films, rather than doing something that makes absolutely no sense for them to do. All games are said to be on PC and console, with the first of the lineup being Fear the Spotlight, releasing later this year. There is an additional trailer for Fear the Spotlight, however, as for the other games they announced, all we got is this short little compilation. I'm pretty excited to see where all these games go and how they all turn out. Stepping away from horror, we got Might Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, a retro-style Power Rangers game that kind of looks like it has a bunch of different types of games within it. Kind of like those all-in-one game systems you'd get back in like the early 2000s that would have like 100 different games on it. I was never a fan of Power Rangers and never really played any retro games, however this game looks like it could be a lot of fun with some friends. We didn't get a release date, however it's supposed to be coming out on PC. Next up we have Deer and Boy, what appears to be side-scrolling story-driven game similar to something like Little Nightmares, however this isn't a horror setting but more of a mystical adventure type of tone. The art style of this game is absolutely beautiful and really seems like a game that's going to make you cry by the end of it. Pretty intrigued by this game, but we unfortunately didn't get a release date. It's currently set to release on PC. Moving on, next we have Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, an open-world action-adventure RPG set within a medieval time period. Based on what we've seen of this game so far, if it does actually release this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see it get nominated for Game of the Year. Currently, there is no specific release date other than 2024, and it'll be releasing on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Shifting back over to horror, we got Slitterhead. From some of the people behind Silent Hill, Slitterhead kind of looks like a Silent Hill meets horror Monster Hunter style game. Honestly, when I heard about this game, I was pretty excited for some more creepy, gross, psychological type of horror, but instead it kind of feels more like a monster hunting game with a horror theme. Currently, it's scheduled to release on November 8th on PS4 and 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Completely changing the tone, we have Killer Bean, a goofy Just Cause type of roguelike where you play as a coffee bean who got betrayed and wants his revenge. This game looks hilarious, but also low-key super fun, and I can't wait to try it out. Currently, it is scheduled to release in early access in summer of 2024. Next up, we have Cairn, what appears to be a rage-inducing game similar to Getting Over It, where you play as a mountain climber who's trying to reach the summit without falling, but you probably will fall. a lot. We sadly didn't get a release date or what consoles it'll be on. Next up, from the creator of the Stanley Parable, we got Wanderstop. I'm not really sure what this game is, simply because we didn't get any gameplay, and more so just some cinematics kind of setting up the story of the game. From what we saw, it looks intriguing, but it's kind of hard to say as of right now. It's currently scheduled to release in 2024 on PS5 and PC. Moving on, we have Unknown 9 Awakening, an action-adventure game that for some reason really reminds me of Forspoken. Hopefully it turns out better than how that game did, and we'll find that out fairly soon, seeing as to how the game is scheduled to release in fall of 2024 on PS4 and 5, Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. Next up, we have Anatria: The Last Song, a Souls-like game that I honestly wish I could say more about. Unfortunately, we only got a cinematic trailer, but from what we saw from it, it looks pretty promising. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Souls-like games simply because I'm just terrible at them. However, for those who really enjoy Souls-like, I'd recommend keeping your eye on this one. The demo is currently available now on PC and PS5, with its scheduled release to be on September 19th. Next up, we have The First Ascendant, an action looter shooter that looks pretty good. I don't think we got any gameplay from this trailer. Maybe there was bits of gameplay thrown in and it's just hard to tell, but it didn't really look like we got any actual gameplay footage. Currently, it is scheduled to release on July 2nd on PS4 and 5, Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. Next up, the developers behind Among Us have decided to open up a new studio called Outer Sloth, where they help fund other indie dev teams. With this announcement, they shared several games they've been funding, some of which being world premieres and a quick rapid-fire compilation. So in order to save time, I won't break down each one and will instead just show a snippet of each one as I list them off. The games they announced were Mars First Logistics, Battlesuit Aces, Mossfield Archives, One Button Bosses, Rogue Eclipse, and Project Dosa. Moving past that rapid fire of games, we got Sonic X Shadow Generations. I don't really know what else to say, like it's a Sonic game and everyone knows what that is. It's currently scheduled to release on October 25th on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Next, we got Dune Awakening, the upcoming open world survival MMO set within the Dune universe. Sadly, we didn't get any gameplay footage and it was just a bunch of cinematics setting up the story and overall plot. Personally, I'm very skeptical on this game and I'm not entirely sold on it. We still don't have a release date, but it will be releasing on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Next up is Battle Aces, a top-down real-time strategy game where it's your army versus another army. We didn't get a release date, however, it will be releasing on PC with a closed beta coming quote-unquote very soon. Moving past Battle Aces, we have Season 3 of the Finals, where they're adding a ton of new weapons and new game modes. If you aren't sure what the Finals is, I have a video already on my channel of my friends and I goofing off in it for the first time together. Click the little card banner thing at the top of your screen if you're interested in that. Season 3 of the Finals is scheduled to drop on June 13th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Next up, we have Alan Wake 2's DLC called Night Springs, a 3-episode long DLC, and in typical Alan Wake fashion is supposed to be mysterious, creepy, and goofy. The DLC drops on June 8th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Moving past Alan Wake 2's DLC and into another DLC, we got New World's newest DLC called Aeternum. New World is an open world MMO made by Amazon Games. I've played a fair amount of New World and it's honestly pretty good. I ended up getting pretty burnt out on it before making out of the base game content. However, I know a lot of people still have a ton of fun with the game. Currently, the DLC is scheduled to release on October 15th on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Next up, we have Dark and Darker, a medieval fantasy dungeon crawler extraction game. This game has been through the ringer on whether or not it was actually going to be released, but it is now officially out on PC on Steam and the Epic Games launcher. Personally, I've been pretty excited to play this game, but didn't want to go through sketchy websites you had to go through to previously play. After this was announced, I found out some pretty strange information about the game and plan on making a video going over it fairly soon. So if you're interested to know more about that, you should subscribe so that way you don't miss out. Moving on, we have Hyper Light Breaker, a co-op action adventure RPG with a very futuristic sci-fi type of theme to it. Currently, Hyper Light Breaker is scheduled to release in early access late summer on PC. After so long with no info, we finally got some news on Skate. We didn't get a ton of info, but we did get some new gameplay and they announced that there will be a console playtesting this fall. Next up is Pal World with a new island, several new pals, an arena mode, a new faction and boss, and a lot more. Currently, the update is scheduled to release on June 27th. Moving past Pal World's update, we have Valorant now coming to console in 2024. Moving along, we have Monster Hunter Wilds, the next installment in the Monster Hunter series. We actually got quite a decent bit of gameplay and overall it looks pretty good. Monster Hunter Wilds is scheduled to release in 2025 on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Finally, we have Phantom Blade Zero. We actually got quite a bit of gameplay with this game as well, and it looks really good. It seems like it's going to be a Souls-like game similar to something like Sekiro mixed with Bloodborne. Sadly, we didn't get a release date and aren't sure exactly of all the platforms it'll be on once it does release. That about does it though. That was everything from the Summer Game Fest show. There was also a few other indie games included in the Day of the Devs section of the show, however I didn't include those in this video simply because this video is already getting long enough. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this year's Summer Game Fest. Did it meet your expectations, blow past them, or fall short? Let me know down in the comments, and if you like anything and everything about gaming, you should subscribe so that way you never miss a video.